Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right now. Some of y'all out here breaking your own hearts, trying to get folks to value you, trying to get folks to appreciate you, love you, notice you, respect you. But the truth is, if they don't see your worth, it's not your job to hand them a pair of glasses. Let me break something down for you real clear. One of the biggest truths I've learned in this life, and I learned it through a whole lot of pain, mistakes, and silence, is that you teach people how to treat you. Now, I know some of y'all have heard that before, but you might not have felt the weight of it yet. Let me help you feel it. See, when someone keeps disrespecting you, when they keep overlooking you, lying to you, using you, walking in and out of your life like it's a hotel lobby, 9 times out of 10, it's because you let them. That might be hard to hear, but it's real. People will only go as far as you allow. If you don't set the boundaries, if you don't draw that line in the sand, then guess what? They're going to keep crossing it every single time because they don't see a fence. They don't see a gate. They see an open field with no rules. Now listen, I ain't saying you're weak. I ain't saying you deserve to be mistreated. What I'm saying is, when you keep letting somebody come back after they've shown you who they are, you're telling them it's okay. You're saying, you can hurt me, but I'll still be here. And that message, that's dangerous. Because some people don't change when they see the damage they cause. They just get better at doing it without getting caught. That's real talk. Let me give you an example from my own life. There were times back in the day I kept giving people access to me because I thought I owed it to them. Maybe we had history. Maybe they were family. Maybe they helped me once when I was down. But every time I ignored the little voice inside telling me, this ain't right, Steve. I paid for it later. With stress, with sleepless nights, with pain I didn't deserve. And why? Because I didn't teach them how to treat me. I let them write the rules, and I played by their game. But one day I woke up, I looked in the mirror, and I said, Steve, you are in control of your life. You decide who gets in and who gets cut off. That's the shift right there. That's when everything starts to change, when you realize you have the power to set the tone. You can't control how people act, but you can control what you tolerate. You can't force folks to respect you, but you can stop sticking around where you're disrespected. That's your power. And let me tell you something. When you finally decide to raise your standards, when you make it clear that disrespect ain't allowed here, you start to lose a few people. Oh yeah, some folks will walk away, but don't chase them. Don't beg them. Let them go. Because what's really happening is you're making space for the right kind of people. The ones who see your worth without needing a reminder. The ones who don't need to be tested or trained on how to treat you. They just know, and they act accordingly. But you won't find those people until you start setting the tone, until you start saying, I love you, but I won't let you drain me. I care about you, but I won't let you walk all over me. That's how you change the game. That's how you stop the cycle. It starts with you. So if you're sitting here wondering why folks keep doing you wrong, ask yourself, what have I been allowing? What have I been accepting just because I didn't want to be alone? What have I been tolerating just to keep the peace? Because sometimes keeping the peace on the outside creates war on the inside. You deserve more than that, but the world won't give you what you deserve. It'll give you what you demand. You want better? Teach them. Set the example. Make it clear. This is how I expect to be treated. period. You teach people how to treat you, never forget that. Let me tell you something that took me a long time to understand. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. See, we live in a world where everybody wants to respond, clap back, prove a point. Somebody disrespects you, you feel like you got to say something. Somebody lies on you, you want to jump in and clear your name. You want people to see the truth. You want to be heard. That's human. That's natural. But it ain't always necessary. What I've learned over the years is this: silence is louder than yelling. Distance is stronger than argument. When you go quiet on somebody who expected a reaction, that silence shakes their soul, because now they're stuck with themselves. They ain't got your words to twist. They ain't got your energy to feed off. You removed yourself from the equation, and that's where the power is. See, some folks feed off your reactions. They don't even want peace. They want chaos. They want drama. They want to pull you out of character just so they can point and say, see, I told you they were crazy. And if you fall for that, you lose. You don't just lose the argument. You lose your peace, your energy, your focus. Every time you stoop down to explain yourself to somebody who ain't listening, you pay for it. You pay with your time, you pay with your spirit, and it's too expensive. Sometimes the best response is no response. Sometimes the strongest move you can make is to back up, shut the door, and stop explaining yourself. That's how you teach people that you're not going to keep participating in the nonsense. You're not going to keep showing up to battles you didn't start. Because when you step back, when you go quiet, when you create distance, that's when people start hearing the message loud and clear. That's when they realize they pushed too far. That's when they feel the weight of what they lost. Now, I'm not saying silence is for the weak. I'm saying silence is for the wise. See, it takes real strength to walk away without saying a word. It takes maturity to know that not every fight is worth fighting. You got to learn to protect your peace like your life depends on it. Because sometimes it does. Peace is priceless. Your energy is sacred. And if you keep giving it away to people who don't value it, you're going to end up empty. You're going to end up bitter. You're going to end up bitter. You're going to end up bitter. Let me tell you something else. That distance, that space you create when you step back from someone who didn't value you, that's when the truth shows up. That's when you see who was really there for you and who was just there for what they could get. Because when you stop calling, when you stop texting, when you stop pouring yourself out, watch who reaches out. Watch who notices your absence. Some people won't even flinch, and that tells you everything you need to know. But don't take that personally. Don't let that hurt you. Let it free you. Because that's the kind of clarity you need in your life. You don't need to argue about your worth. You don't need to beg to be seen. You don't need to fight for a seat at a table that was never meant for you. Sometimes silence is your way of saying, I'm done explaining myself. I'm done defending my heart. I'm done giving second chances to people who never deserved the first. So don't be afraid to go quiet. Don't be afraid to create space. Don't be afraid to let people feel your absence, because in that silence, they will hear everything they ignored when you were speaking. And in that distance, they will finally understand the value of your presence. You don't always have to make noise to be heard. Sometimes your silence says everything. Let me tell you something that took me years to fully understand. And when I say years, I mean pain, disappointment, betrayal, and long nights sitting by myself asking God, why? The truth is, not everybody that starts with you is meant to finish with you. That's not hate, that's not bitterness, that's growth. That's real life. And until you accept that, you're going to keep dragging people along who were never meant to be part of your destiny. You got to understand this. Your journey is personal. The path God gave you is tailored for your steps, your purpose, your calling. And some folks just ain't built to walk that with you. You try to take everybody with you because of history, because of loyalty, because you love them. But loving people doesn't mean they're qualified for your future. Some people were only supposed to be in your life for a season, to teach you something, to challenge you, to grow you. But once their part is done, you got to let them go. If you don't, you'll end up slowing down, carrying dead weight that's holding back everything God's trying to give you. I had folks in my life that I was loyal to for years, friends, business partners, even family, and I kept them around even after I saw the signs. I ignored my gut, I ignored my spirit, I ignored the way they acted when I succeeded. They were cool when I was struggling, but when I started shining, they got real quiet, real distant. That kind of energy, that's not your tribe. And when you ignore that, when you keep trying to force them into places they don't belong, you suffer. Let me make this plain. You cannot take everybody with you into your next level. Everybody doesn't have the heart, the mindset, or the character to go where you're going. Some people will resent your growth. They'll sabotage your peace. They'll distract you with drama and drain you of energy you need for your calling. But because we love them, we keep making space for them. We keep giving them chances. We keep justifying their bad behavior. But God will start showing you who's real and who's not. And when he does, don't argue. Don't try to convince yourself otherwise. When people remove themselves from your life, let them. That's not a loss. That's God doing subtraction before multiplication. See, the higher you go, the thinner the air gets. You can't take everybody to the top of the mountain because everybody ain't built to breathe up there. Some people will suffocate and pull you down with them. So you have to learn the discipline of release. You have to know when a chapter has ended. Just because you had good memories with someone doesn't mean they belong in your next season. Sometimes the blessing is not in who comes into your life, but in who leaves. And I know it hurts. I know letting go of people you care about is one of the hardest things in the world, but clinging to people who don't love you right, who don't support your purpose, who don't celebrate your wins, that's even harder. That's the kind of weight that keeps you from walking in your full power. And when you finally let go, when you finally trust that God will replace what you lost with better, with real, with right, you start to feel lighter. You start to move different. You start to grow. So ask yourself today, who are you holding on to that's holding you back? Who are you carrying just because of how long you've known them? Loyalty is a beautiful thing, but don't let it become a prison. Don't let it blind you to the truth. Some folks were never meant to walk your whole journey. They were just a lesson, not a lifetime. And when you learn to let go without bitterness, without revenge, without needing closure, you step into a new level of freedom because not everyone is assigned to your destiny, and that's okay. Let me put you onto something that'll change the way you live, love, and connect with people. If you don't hear anything else I say, hear this. When you stop chasing people, the right ones start showing up. I know that don't sound deep, but it's the truth. Some of y'all are out here running yourself ragged, begging folks to stay, proving your worth, texting first every time, checking in on people who don't check on you. And you wonder why you feel drained. You wonder why you feel invisible. You wonder why it feels like no matter how hard you try, you're still not enough. Let me tell you why. Because you're chasing. See, the minute you start chasing someone, you already gave them the upper hand. You already said, I need you more than you need me. And that kind of energy, that's not attractive. That's not powerful. That's desperate. People can feel it. They can smell it. And unfortunately, not everybody you chase has a good heart. Some people will take advantage of your effort. They'll let you keep calling, keep reaching, keep giving because it benefits them, not because they care. And every time you chase, you lower your value in their eyes. But here's the thing. When you stop, everything shifts. When you stop calling first, when you stop explaining yourself to people who don't listen, when you stop trying to prove to somebody that you're worth loving, something powerful happens. You reclaim your peace. You reclaim your dignity. You reclaim your power. And the minute you do that, the wrong ones start fading and the right ones start appearing. Why? Because your energy changes. You stop operating out of lack and you start walking in abundance. You know what I learned? Real people don't need to be chased. Real love don't need to be forced. When someone sees your value, when someone respects your time and your heart, they show up for you without being begged. They call, they check on you, they match your effort. They give you peace, not confusion. But you don't get to experience that kind of connection until you make room for it. And you can't make room when your hands are full of people who don't even care that you're holding on. I had to learn this the hard way. I spent too many years chasing folks who wouldn't have walked 2 steps for me. I made excuses for their absence. I justified their behavior. I kept showing up for people who only thought of me when it was convenient. And let me tell you, that will wear your soul down. That kind of one-sided relationship will leave you feeling empty even when you're surrounded by people, because being around someone who doesn't value you is lonelier than being by yourself. So I made a decision. I stopped chasing. I stopped running after people who didn't clap when I won. I stopped explaining myself to folks who had already made up their mind about me. I started letting people go. And at first, it was quiet. It was lonely. I sat in that silence and asked myself if I did the right thing. But over time, something amazing happened. The right people started showing up. The kind of people who didn't make me beg to be understood. The kind of people who saw my worth from the door. The kind of people who added to my life instead of draining it, and they didn't come until I stopped making room for the wrong ones. You don't need to chase anybody who's meant for you. You don't have to force what's real. When you value yourself, the right people recognize it and respect it. But they can't come into your life if you're too busy chasing people who don't even see you. Stop running, stop begging, stop proving, let go, and watch how everything starts to align. Because when you stop chasing people, the right ones finally know where to find you. Let me tell you something I had to learn the hard way. Peace is priceless. And I'm talking about the kind of peace that lets you sleep at night, that lets you breathe without heaviness, that lets you wake up in the morning without dread sitting on your chest. Some people don't even realize how much peace they've been sacrificing just to keep certain folks in their life. They're holding on to relationships that feel more like battles than blessings, all because they don't want to be alone or feel guilty for walking away. But let me ask you this, what's the cost of constantly being drained? What's the price of pretending you're okay around people who don't even care how you feel? What does it really cost you to keep showing up for people who only show up when it benefits them? See, I used to think that love and loyalty meant sticking around no matter what. I thought I was doing the right thing by keeping the peace on the outside, but what I was really doing was creating war on the inside. That's not love. That's self-neglect. There were people I used to force myself to stay connected to. I'd bite my tongue to avoid arguments. I'd make myself available when I was already tired. I'd let disrespect slide just to avoid the awkward conversations. But deep down, I was losing myself. I was shrinking. I was exhausted from constantly trying to make something work that was clearly broken. And for what? Just to say I still had that friendship? Just to say we were still cool? That's not a badge of honor. That's bondage. You got to realize that every relationship ain't meant to last forever. Some people come into your life with an expiration date, but we keep trying to extend the shelf life on something that's already gone bad. Just because you've known someone for years doesn't mean they still deserve a seat at your table. And just because you love someone doesn't mean they're healthy for your spirit. You can love people from a distance. You can wish them well and still choose your peace over their chaos. I had to get real with myself. I had to ask, why am I trying so hard to keep this thing alive when it's clearly killing my peace? And when I finally let go of what was draining me, that's when I started to feel alive again. That's when I realized how much weight I was carrying. That's when I understood the power of being alone. And okay, instead of being surrounded and miserable, don't get me wrong, it's hard. It's hard to walk away from people you once cared about deeply. It's hard to be the one to say, this ain't working. But I promise you, what's on the other side of that decision is peace. And that peace, that's something you can't buy. That's something no fake relationship, no forced friendship, no unhealthy connection can give you. We spend so much time trying to maintain appearances, trying to keep people around because of guilt, fear, or habit. But at what cost? If a relationship is constantly full of tension, if it makes you question your worth, if it feels like you're walking on eggshells just to keep the other person happy, that ain't peace. That's stress dressed up as loyalty. And eventually, it'll wear you down to nothing. So I had to start choosing differently. I started choosing peace over proving my point, peace over being right, peace over keeping people around just to feel accepted. And I've never felt lighter. I've never felt clearer. I've never felt more in control of my space, my energy, and my emotions. Because at the end of the day, peace is more valuable than any relationship that makes you feel like you're not enough. Peace is the real prize. And once you taste that kind of freedom, you won't trade it for anything or anybody. Let me tell you something that'll change your life if you really let it sink in. You teach people how to treat you. You don't do it with your words. You do it with what you tolerate. You do it with what you allow to slide. You do it with what you keep quiet about when you should have spoken up. People will only treat you the way you let them. So if they disrespect you, ignore you, or use you, and you keep showing up like everything's cool, they think that's okay. They think you're good with it. And why wouldn't they? You've shown them there are no consequences for crossing the line. See, we live in a world where everybody wants to be liked. Everybody wants to keep the peace. But let me tell you something. Peace without boundaries is just quiet suffering. It's being walked on with a smile on your face, and I ain't about that. I had to learn that it's not my job to keep everybody happy at the expense of myself. You can't keep making excuses for people's behavior and then wonder why they never change. They don't change because you never demanded better. It starts with self-respect. You got to know your worth first before anybody else can recognize it. If you don't respect yourself, if you don't draw the line, if you don't say, hey, that's not how you talk to me, or I'm not available when you feel like it, then people will treat you like you're an option. They'll treat you like background noise. But when you start setting standards, not out of anger, not out of pride, but out of love for yourself, that's when the game changes. Let me give you a real example. I've had people in my life who thought they could show up when it was convenient, call me when they needed something, disappear when I needed them. And for a long time, I let it happen. I told myself, that's just how they are. I kept being the bigger person. I kept showing grace. But grace without boundaries turns into self-neglect. And I had to wake up and say, no more. Not in a loud, dramatic way, just in a clear, calm, final way. You'd be surprised how quickly people change when they see that you're no longer playing that game. Now, here's what happens when you shift. Some folks will step up. They'll respect you more. They'll realize you're serious. But others, they'll walk away. And that's okay. Let them go. Because anyone who leaves just because you asked to be treated better was never for you in the first place. That's not love. That's control. And you don't need that in your life. You got to understand something powerful. You are the gatekeeper to your own peace. You decide who gets access. You decide who stays and who doesn't. You can't blame people for walking all over you if you keep laying down. If you want better, you got to expect better. And expecting better means sometimes being alone for a while. It means dealing with the silence after you set a boundary. It means losing some folks you thought would always be there. But what you gain in return, that self-worth, that peace of mind, that's priceless. Don't ever forget this. You're not being too much for expecting respect. You're not asking for too much when you want consistency, loyalty, and kindness. That's basic. That's human. But you only get it when you stop accepting less. You only get it when you stop rewarding bad behavior with your presence. People learn how to treat you based on how you treat yourself. So walk like you're worthy. Speak like you matter. Set the standard. And watch who rises to meet it.